Hi, I'm Shain, a New York Jewish mom, young in spirit, but with decades, so many decades of experience.
And I'm Sarah, her daughter, and a practicing therapist. And this is Listen to My Mother,
A podcast where we answer your real-life questions with 2 points of view, one rooted in motherly instinct and
one rooted in clinical training.
You'll get guidance, support, maybe a little tough love, but always from the heart.
And if you'd like us to answer your question on air, head to the link in our show notes and send it our way. We want to hear any questions you have.
And now it's time to
Listen to My Mother. Welcome back.
So glad to be here with you again.
Episode 2.
Actually, seeing you face to face.
Yes, episode 1 we did with you in Florida and me in Colorado. And we did that with we're on the computer looking at each other through a screen with our own little mic setups in our own homes. But this time, I am visiting you in Florida. So we were using one mic. We'll see how that goes.
Okay. I just want to make clear that you said you're visiting me in my home. In Florida currently, but I don't consider this my home.
Yes.
My home is in New York.
You and Dad disagree on this.
Yes, we do.
Because we just went for lunch, and on the drive back, we were talking about going to Thailand for his 80th birthday. We get the whole family to go to Thailand for his 80th birthday. And he's like, I don't want to be on a plane for that long. And I said, well, if you fly first class, you barely even notice. Like, your seats lie flat, you'll sleep the whole flight, you'll get amazing food. Like, you won't even care that you're on a plane for however many hours. And he's like, yeah, but that's so expensive to fly first class and blah, 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 to go international. And so we were talking on the drive back, and I was like, if you rented out this apartment whenever you're not here, you could easily afford, after a couple years, by the time you're 80, easily afford to send the whole family on first class to Thailand. And he said that he doesn't want anyone in his home because this is his home.
He doesn't want anyone in any of his spaces at all. So, You know he's resistant when you kids come to stay about using our bedroom. He's not happy about that, and then I just give him a dirty look, and he says, okay.
Well, I used your bedroom when I was here for Caitlin's bachelorette.
I know, because I had to tie him down and explain to him that it's okay. If we go into a hotel, they don't change the bed just for him when he shows up. They wash the sheets.
Which we do too.
So anyway, that's marriage 304.
Yeah, it's grad school level marriage. So I was listening to, on my drive to the airport when I flew out here a couple days ago, I was listening to 2 of my friends have started their own podcast. It's called The Other Emilys, and everyone should go check it out. Little plug for the other Emilys. The other Emily, and I call them the Emilys. So the podcast is called The Other Emily. And in their first episode, they did introductions of, like, who they are, what their names are, and I realized, like, our names are not in the first episode. We don't say who we are. So I thought it was a good idea for us to do a little intro, just kind of like names, our life a little bit, our history, kind of how we decided to come to this podcast. If you want to go first, who are you?
I was born first, so
yeah, there you go.
I guess. Okay, I am Shain, spelt Shain. I have to be very clear about that because everybody spells it wrong.
And yours is weird. Your spelling is a weird spelling.
Yes, but it's my spelling as opposed to the male spelling, which
because there is no female version of Shain.
Because it could be Sean, it could be Shane.
Sean. That's
Sean, I know, but some people send me emails saying, hello, Sean. Okay. Whatever they want. So, as a matter of fact, a very, very good friend of mine, in order to, place this in her head so that she actually said, Shane, just like pain. Yes. So that stuck for her.
There you go.
So I use that. Just think pain and you'll get the spelling right. So I am your mother.
You are indeed.
I put you through some, just a difficulty in circumstance simply because you were born to an older mother. So you have to deal with a failing. Well, you've always had an older mother, and it's always, I believe, weighed on you, waiting for me to die.
Well, less so that, but more, I mean, like, we've talked before about, like, my chronic joint pain is probably due to you being dusty and old in utero when I was in utero.
I was in better shape than you are now. So, and I'm still in better shape than you was. I don't know
about that.
Right, I don't think you could blame it on your in utero experience. You could blame other things on your in utero experience, but I don't think
what? My depression and anxiety and mental illness and all your stress.
Because I totally believe that since I was in tremendous stress, and not based on my age, but based on circumstances around me. I was in a tremendous amount of stress, anxiety. Cortisol levels must have been shooting through the roof when I was pregnant with you. And I'm sure that impacted your chemistry. Mm-hmm. Which
probably, I mean, yes, it does that.
Yes, which would have...
Were you the least stressed with David?
Totally the least.
Yeah, because he's the least messed up of the three of us.
Right. Your oldest sister, I was in tremendous stress with her as well. Bottom line, based on the circumstances of my life with your father, who is still my husband at 54 years of marriage.
And he will be joining us for the second half of this as an esteemed guest to discuss the submission of the week. Right.
So... I married for 54 years. You were born when I was 46. Your sister was 20. Your brother was 18. That's, that's not my life in a nutshell, but...
It has nothing to do with your life. Do you want to say a little bit more about you?
I am part of a Holocaust survivor family, which has impacted my life, my sister, my brother, and translates down to what the trauma of that coming down to you, your brother, and your sister. And I can see it going all the way down to my grandchildren at this point. It has impacted their lives as well. So we'll put that on the side for now, because we won't be discussing that at this session. I was... in college at 16, graduated at 20, became an elementary school teacher. That was just for about 4.5 years, and then my marriage interfered with my working, but that's a whole other story. We got stories.
So many things to come back to.
I raised your sister and your brother. I went to work in your father's business. I was there for 12 years. Gave birth to you while I was still working there. I always danced. I studied classical ballet, and later on, when you were about 3 years old, I started doing yoga, and within a couple of years, I was teaching, and not only yoga, but ballet to children and adults, and been doing that for the past 20 some odd years, and here we are.
Here we are.
And what about you?
Well, I am Sarah, spelled S-A-R-A-H, very important. There are still members of our family who address letters and texts to me as S-A-R-A. They've known me for 32 years. I am a therapist, a marriage and family therapist candidate, which means I'm on my way towards licensure. I have a master's in research psych. I basically didn't do anything clinical until I got to my post-grad program, which trained me for marriage and family therapy. Prior to that, I lived a very different life. I have a master's in creative writing, and my undergrad is in photography and film, and I don't do anything with any of those. So,
But you write beautifully, and you take great pictures, so I guess all that money for college wasn't totally wasted.
Yeah. Yeah, so And I have 2 dogs who are the lights of my life. My little rat babies. I'm sure I will refer to them quite a bit. And in episode 1, actually, I don't know if you caught it when we were listening to episode 1 last night, there is a moment where one of the dogs is shaking in the back, and you can hear the collar rattling.
I did not pick that up.
So that might happen more, especially when I'm home. Right now in Florida, the dogs are not with me, so they're not rattling in the background. We do this podcast. That's another thing about me.
And I feel very grateful and elated, actually, that you invited me to join you in this endeavor.
So this was actually Caitlin's idea, and she did ask for a shout out when we got this off the ground. So I'll give a little shout out to my best friend Caitlin, who years ago said that we should have a podcast. I think probably after the first time she met you, because we have such a great rapport. So she said that we should have a podcast, and then it just kind of sat. I think at the first time I mentioned it to you, you were like, absolutely not. And then a lot of time passed, and we brought it up again recently, and you're like, okay. So we bought all of the microphone and equipment and stuff for Black Friday, so that it was 3 cents cheaper than it would have been normally. And we're getting started, doing this, and it's super fun. And hopefully we enjoy it more than just the 2 times we've done it. 1.5. We're only...
Well, our goal in this is to actually, to discuss things that are, so far we haven't discussed anything of importance. We've just presented ourselves in this.
I know, we're 20 minutes in, so we might want to wrap this section
Right,
up.
right. But our original goal in doing this was to speak about issues that are important to us and that we enjoy discussing between the 2 of us, and or to bring in issues other people have and our take on their issues. I think that our first episode, we had a submission that we both addressed, and my sister was visiting at the time, and she also jumped in and gave some great thoughts and expressions to what was going on. I really enjoyed what she had to say. If Kelly, who
from episode
1 actually ever hears what we said, I think it could actually be very helpful for her. So I hope that as we proceed that we're able to give some level of advice by somebody I am currently 77 years old. I'm going to be 78 next month. I have a lifetime of experience. Much of it has been traumatic. Mm-hmm. So from that, I have learned and hopefully use what I've learned in relating to my 3 children, my 3 grandchildren, my friends, my students, that I can address things and be helpful. You've impressed me tremendously since you got involved in being a therapist. I'm really impressed with your level of knowledge and your insight, especially when we gossip about other people in the family.
That's our favorite pastime. I also do want to name real quick that we are on a kind of delay in recording. We're going to record our first 5 episodes before we start publishing. So the things that we talk about might not always be, or definitely won't be, super timely by the time that they publish. Hopefully eventually we'll catch up once we have our rhythm and we know what we're doing and we can record. We know that we'll be committing to recording regularly. We'll catch up with more timely things, but right now by the time the first episode where we talk so much about the Kanye Super Bowl stuff, that's gonna be months past Super Bowl by the time that publishes. And we will and we also have the Kanye. Well, first I just want to name that we are a little bit delayed in these first 5 episodes, and hopefully people who are listening are staying with us and understanding that delay.
Even though what we discussed about the Kanye thing was timely right after the Super Bowl, the issue itself is timeless.
I agree with that. I just also know that if I'm listening to a podcast and I'm listening months after it was recorded, I'm just kind of like, wait, we're still talking about this? But no, because it was recorded at the time that it was relevant.
Right, but what that was about was really very little. It was a broader subject that
of how Jewish families were talking to their
kids. Jumped off the Kanye thing, but the issue itself was bigger.
Yes.
And this is a submission from Amber, and this is what she wrote. I don't feel seen or appreciated in my relationship, and I don't know how to move forward with this feeling with my partner. Here's some more context. I've been with my boyfriend for about 4 years. There are so many great aspects to our relationship, especially when it comes to what I would call friendship intimacy and sexual intimacy. The friendship aspect of our relationship is great. Spending time with him feels natural, and we laugh a lot. And the sexual connection is great. But I feel like there is so much intimacy between being able to spend time together and sex.
I'm not sure what that sentence meant. I was a little confused by that sentence, too.
Yeah, she must have left out a couple of words.
Yeah.
It's difficult for me to explain, but I don't feel like he really sees me or appreciates me in the way I need. For example, we often don't have much to talk about over dinner, and I don't feel valued for who I am beyond the fun moments we share. What I feel I'm missing are the little things that show love and care on a deeper emotional level. I want more sweet gestures like compliments, massages, and meaningful conversations that communicate, I love you, I care about you, and I want to get to know you even more. When I brought this up to him, he's been calm and says he'll try, but also responds with, I feel like I already do those things, or I feel like we already know each other pretty well. I feel stuck after he says these things because I ask myself, am I just missing it when he tries? Or am I too demanding? I can't force him to be more curious about me or show more care on a daily basis, but it's what I feel I need. We live together and I really want this relationship to work, but I don't know how long I try to communicate in a relationship where I just feel uncared for in many ways. Am I asking for too much? My question is, 1, what are some ways a couple can get to know each other better on a deeper level? 2, what should I do if my partner isn't as interested in working on it? I've tried drunkenly crying out to him about it. If that wasn't that helpful, LOL. I've tried soberly talking to him about it several times. He listens and seems to make little adjustments for a while, but also seems annoyed by it. I also ensure that getting to know each other is two-sided, and I ask him questions about his interests in childhood and hopes and dreams. I've also asked him for feedback for me in the relationship, and he didn't have anything. I feel very sad about the possibility that the relationship might not work out. I feel very angry that my partner seems to not care about getting to know each other better, and it feels like I'm the only one trying to deepen the relationship.
Okay. Thank you for submitting that, Amber. Do you want to go first?
I know this feeling.
Well, that is why we have our guest with us now, who is my father, your husband. Because we were just having lunch, and when we first read the submission together last night, immediately he had a response. So when we were just having lunch before we started recording, I asked him about like what his feelings were, and he started talking. I was like, wait, just be a guest and just tell us.
And I recall yesterday when this happened, we both immediately thought about the same thing because it had a tremendous impact on our own relationship.
And what was that thing?
That thing happened to be, it's like endorsing something. I would not endorse something if I didn't believe in it 100%. I'm not a salesperson. I can't sell something I don't believe in. But this book happened to change our lives, not just in our relationship, but our relationship to our children, understanding our children better, relationships and friendships, understanding the dynamic better. I find that this book was like a gift to us as a family, and I think you introduced it to us. The book is called 5 Love Languages, and it was written by Gary Chapman, who is a marriage counselor, and it was based on his own experience in his practice and what he found worked best with his own clients. He wrote a best-selling book from the notes that he took during his counseling sessions. And basically, the 5 love languages talks directly to what Amber is saying she's lacking in her relationship. And Amber is verbalizing it. She's putting it out there, but I can pretty much guarantee you that her partner, her boyfriend, is also missing something in the relationship, but he hasn't figured it out or been able to speak to it to her. So I have found in our own situation, in our marriage, there are 5 different ways that you can show you love someone. 1 or 2 of them will resonate and the other person will actually feel them. But the way someone feels love may not be the way they show it, because your love language to receive and your love language to give can be the same, or they can be different. Just to use our marriage as a quickie example, Larry has told me all our lives, when I'm not feeling okay, all you have to do is touch me. Touch my face, And my thing was, I need to be seen. I felt, just like Amber is saying, it's so familiar to me. I felt invisible, not seen, not being, valued. And my sense was, you make me feel like shit. Why would I touch you? I don't even want to be near you. So we were just bypassing each other, telling each other what we need and not hearing it from the other person. And it took actually reading the book, I came to understand what my love language is outward, what I do and present to show my love. And it doesn't mean the person I'm showing my love to gets it, because it's not how they receive love. Another example is my older daughter. Her love language is gifts. She gives gifts to show love. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be a big deal. It's just something. I thought of you. I saw this little purse. Cost me $5. Doesn't matter. But I thought of you because it had a little thingy on it. And that's how she shows love. I don't shop. I hate to shop. I don't buy. I don't gift. So is my daughter getting the message I don't love her because I don't gift her? So we needed to talk about that. It's not how I show love. So I can't show you love the way you want to receive it. So how do we figure this out? So anyway, I recommend the book.
Dad, did you want to add anything?
I think that you pretty much said it all. The love, the way I receive love, the touching, is the only way that I would understand giving love. I mean, this is what makes me, this is what makes me feel love, so that's the way I would give love. Reading that book opened my mind. And it was a totally new thing to understand that by telling Shain, telling Mom that she did something fantastically well, made her feel loved. And in a million years, if somebody said to me, hey, you did that pretty well, it's okay, fine. And the other love was doing things for her.
Acts of service.
Acts of service. And up until I became so aware of this, I wouldn't wash the dishes. That's not my job. And understanding that washing the dishes for her or whatever, just doing that act of service made her feel loved. Well, all of a sudden I love washing dishes.
And he does laundry.
And I what?
You do laundry.
And I do laundry, yes.
I noticed though that sometimes, like, you know, if your love language is acts of service, but there are times when like other people are trying to do things for you and you get very frustrated because they're not doing it the way you would do it yourself. So how do you reconcile those two things?
All right. Different people required Larry doing the dishes, doing the laundry. It's his way he's figured out a way that he figures he's showing me love. I appreciate he washes the dishes, but that is not how I feel loved. I don't mind doing my own dishes. I don't need someone else to. It's lovely when don't get me wrong. I get up in the morning, the dishes from last night are gone. I appreciate it. Thank you. That was great. But that in and of itself I don't take in as being loved. I take in as being appreciated for having made that lovely dinner last night. That tells me that my act of service, because that's my love language, to give is my act of service. It just shows me if he washes the dishes, to me it's not his act of love, it's his appreciation for my act of service.
Right, like your giving language is acts of service and him washing the dishes is his reception of your acts of service, right?
That's how I see it and appreciate it.
So
it's not simple.
Right, so then what is your receiving love language?
My receiving love language is appreciating
words of affirmation.
Words of affirmation, absolutely. Because I have great ideas. I come up with some really good shit, you know? And for years, decades, I would be ignored. I could say something, I think we should do blah, 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 and nothing. And a male friend would come over and say, hey, what a great idea. It was just what I said a half hour ago, but was not heard. That would make me crazy. You know, that was the feel invisible that Amber is talking about. That's the not being appreciated, not being valued for my own worth. That is important to me, to be recognized that what you came up with, what you thought of, what you did was great. And Dad does that now a lot. You know, I feel he really sees my contributions, he sees my input, he values it, and he'll say things like, I know you're going to do it great, so just go ahead, do whatever the hell you want to do. That's my receiving love.
And
yes.
I want to say also real quick to Amber and anyone else listening that, I mean, what just happened here of like, even still, after married for 54 years now and having had this conversation so many times, there was still a misunderstanding of what the thing was. Like that you were saying, Dad, that like you do the acts of service, you do the washing dishes, you do the laundry because that's how she feels love. And now, like, Mom, you're saying, like, but that's not it.
This was a clarification, absolutely.
And I want to clarify one more thing. Dad's feeling loved is being touched. Touch his face. So I make the effort where before I would resist it because I was angry at how I wasn't valued. So once it was so clear, then touching him and being aware of him it was something I made the effort to do until it, do it until it becomes, and now it's something I just do all the time.
Well, you're literally petting him right now.
And so Dad is saying the way he shows love is touching as well. I have learned for the same way I had to learn to start touching him, I've learned to accept touch, but it is not my love language.
Well, exactly. That's.
But I honor, in the reverse, I honor being touched because I know he's sending me love. Even though it's not how I receive love, I know that's what he's sending.
Right. And that's exactly like what he's saying is like he never wanted to wash the dishes, and now he's learned to love it because it means something to you.
Right.
And same in reverse. It's like you don't really want to be getting touched as much as you do, but you are learning to honor it, like you said.
Yes, because it's important to him.
Right. Yeah. And I want to also clarify too, because I love the love languages. I use them with my clients all the time, but I do want to just acknowledge real quick, this is not peer reviewed. This is not a real science.
Right.
But it is, I find it to be a very helpful tool to begin to open like these types of conversations. Mm-hmm. I also want to clarify that like people, you know, I find all the time that people are always like, well, gift giving is the least important one to me. That doesn't matter. Realistically, everyone needs all 5. But there's usually 1 or 2 that even if you're getting the other 4, but you're missing that one, you don't feel like you're getting loved. It's kind of like the I don't remember exactly how they describe it in the book, but the way that I've like internalized it is that the one love language that is the most important to you, that fuels you, and in the book they call it like the love tank, and it's like the gas that it gives you. The one love language that you need will fuel you like 80%, but you need the other 4 to get to 100%. Whereas like you could have the other 4 and you're at like 20%, but it's like the bottom of the barrel, all the stuff with the grit in it. Like you need that other 80% to have a full tank. So that's one thing, just that I think that I see this a lot on Hinge, dating apps, like for my generation, that people, like there's a prompt on Hinge, like my love language is, and people they'll either do something that's not a love language because they're trying to make a joke, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves, or it'll be like 3 of them, or it'll be all of them except, or whatever. And it's just like the way that the model is supposed to work is that we all need all 5, but there's 1, sometimes 2, that really makes us feel loved. And also what you're saying about how like giving and receiving is so different, like for you, they are 2 different things. For Dad, they're the same thing. For me, it's also 2 different things. Like my giving love language is gift giving. That's how I show love, similar to Mara, my big sister. I think for her, it's probably, I don't know, it'd be interesting to talk to her about it. Like, does she think that her giving and receiving are the same? But my receiving, I've thought for a long time, is words of affirmation. And I'm going to leave it at that for now. And that could be a bigger conversation about the conversation I've been having with my therapist about my love language and words of affirmation and all the things that are implied with that. But we can come back to that another time.
Just a note.
Yeah.
I think you're fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Another super important part about the love languages is that there's more than just the 5 languages. There's also like within each language, there's multiple dialects, just like with any language. So like we both have words of affirmation as our receiving love language, but we want to be told different things. So it's like, just because we're like, oh, okay, great, like I understand words of affirmation, I can totally do that for you, doesn't mean you're actually saying the right things. So it's, you know, having that conversation of like, okay, what's your love language? And then let's take it a step deeper of like, what do you want that to look like, right? Like acts of service. Like if acts of service actually was your one true love language, and like, great, washing the dishes, doing laundry, like that's excellent, but like what I really want is for you to fill the car with gas when you're out. Like if you notice it's empty, that's the thing that will really make me feel seen and taken care of. So knowing the language is really important, but also knowing the dialect is really important.
Can I just interject?
Yes,
To Amber, my reading the book was great. It meant a lot for myself, for my own understanding of what I send out and what I need. It was surprised the hell out of me, but made a tremendous difference that my husband read the book. Mm-hmm. And that my kids read the book. And we could all kind of talk about it and feel each other out and find out, what am I missing that I thought I knew about you that I don't know? Mm-hmm. So if you can get your boyfriend to read the book, if he is willing to do that with you, for you, I don't know what's better, with you, for you, I think it might make a big difference in just how he views you. Mm-hmm. If he can read the book, he's hearing from someone else what you're trying to tell him. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we hear it when somebody else tells us, like my husband heard when I said blah, blah, and he said, then nothing, and then, oh yeah, that's a great idea. But somehow, if a book might speak to your boyfriend in a way that he can't hear you.
Yeah, I also, I think there was a section in there where she was talking about how, like, she'll kind of ask him, like, is there more that you need from me? And he's like, no, I feel seen, I feel heard, I feel known, whatever it is. I would love to, like, take it a step further with him and ask him, like, okay, how do I show you that I see you, that I know you, that I love you? How do I do that? Can you articulate what it is that is resonating for you? Because I wonder if he doesn't even know, it's like, and that could help him understand the places where you're not feeling it. If he can, like, really, like, look at it more granularly of, like, isolating what are the things that work for me. Oh, it is more than just this relationship is great. Like, that there are specific things that you do for me. Oh, those things that are important to me, you're not getting the equivalent of what's important to you. And looking at it in smaller pieces, more like specific pieces, can be helpful in that. Does that make sense?
Yes. As an example, though it's kind of personal, but there would be tremendous pressure on me throughout the marriage for sex. When I had babies to raise, babies crying, I'm tired, I'm this, I don't feel like it. So I felt like I'm such a bad person because he really wants sex and I'm just not available. I'm not available. And for me, it was all he wants is sex, without the understanding that the touch was more important, actually, than the sex. Mm-hmm. The sex was, how he was going to get touch.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually a really big point that they make in the book, is that, like, physical touch does not mean sex. Then that's a really common misconception, and that it is two different things. Okay, so the love languages, I think, are a super useful tool and can be really helpful for opening up these conversations. Another thing that I think is really important to start looking at is, like, the shared language of the relationship. When you say that you don't feel heard or seen, does he know what you mean by heard or seen? Are you having the same conversation? Do you have the same definition of heard, the same definition of seen? And I would take it one step further of adding the word known in there. Like, do you feel known by him? Does he feel known by you? How do you define known? What does it mean to be known? What does it mean to be seen? What does it mean to be heard? Because if you're working with different definitions, you're already starting off in the wrong place. That might be even, like, a more important place to start before even going into the love languages, of just kind of like, are we even looking, if we were to go and read the love language books, like, are we looking for the same information from it? Are we starting from the same starting point? Do we have different meanings of seen? Does that make sense?
It does, but I think it's hard. Hard to get that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it would be, like, to ask him first, you feel seen by me? Great. How do I do that for you? Can help narrow down what does he mean by seen, as opposed to, like, what she might mean by seen.
Right. Based on how she's described his reaction to her, I can't see that conversation happening. If you need to define the terms first, I don't see that.
Yeah, I agree.
Happening.
I agree. You have to get the broad perspective first, and then
narrow down to what.
Yeah, I don't think based on what she's.
But going into it, having the understanding that there is going to be a second step involved might help. I'm just getting that right now, and it's very, very interesting, because neither one of us ever thought to define what we meant by what our love language, the specifics of the love language. And just, even without that, it still made a phenomenal difference. At this point, I don't know that it's even necessary anymore for us. But it would be a good thing for Amber and her boyfriend to go and read the book and just... And there were parts of the book that really didn't have any effect on anything. But just learning the fact that there are 5 ways of showing love, and that the individuals don't necessarily have the same 1 or 2 ways that for them is important, and it may not be important for the other for the other person. Just to read the book and understand that there are 5 ways of showing love and receiving love.
I also want to add real quick that, like, again, this book is not science. There are other schools of thought that there's like 6 or 7 love languages.
Doesn't make any difference.
But the book itself is this tool to frame it as 5. I want to hesitate from putting out into the world like there are only 5.
Right.
No. That's not the important thing. The important thing is that you understand that the way you feel love isn't necessarily the way that your opposite, that your spouse or your boyfriend, girlfriend feels love. Right. And just understanding that opens your mind up to all the rest of this that you're talking about.
And even just having the conversation.
If you don't have that understanding first, then everything else you're talking about is going to be meaningless.
Right. Having the conversation. You good? Okay. Well, another thing that we talk about in session with clients is like a lot of time, like you are loving your partner the way that you want to be receiving love, because on one hand, it's the only way you know.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, there's also like you're modeling for them. You're trying to show them this is what I want, so that I'm showing you what I want.
Maybe.
Okay.
No, that's true. I do believe it, because Larry would touch me a lot, and I didn't want to be touched. But
maybe I was modeling for her. Right. You're right.
You know,
You're right.
And I wasn't putting it together. I wasn't learning. I wasn't learning from what he was showing. And
the same with me.
And he would say, we would go to a wedding or a bar mitzvah or some event where there was dancing and slow music would come on, and we would get up and dance, and it would be lovely. We would be hugging and dancing and doing. And Dad, years ago, made the comment, and it would be sensual. It would be very sensual. And Dad would make the comment that, how come in public you can be so touchy-feely, and when we're home, there's nothing? And for me, it was in public, when we're in this situation, I can get my touchy-feely and not have the pressure that we have to have sex, or all that pressure of that. It was how I got the touchy-feely. But it didn't resonate for him.
It was safe, right? It was a safe
For me, it was a safe place to get that tactile, you know. And for him, it was, well, this isn't where I want this. I want this at home.
I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I have 2 more points I want to cover. One is another really simple tool, because like I'm curious also, like, if the feeling known as, like, you know, there's this like the deeper intimacy of feeling seen, feeling heard. There are online, you can like Google like the 36 questions for connection, and it comes in 3 phases. And the first phase is kind of like more like surface level questions, base questions, like if you could have dinner with a famous person, who would it be and why? And there's 12 questions on that level. Then you go phase 2, which is a little bit deeper, and then phase 3, which is deeper. And I'm trying to think of like a phase 3 off the top of my head example, but it's, I think in phase 2 there's a question of like, what do we have in common? What are like 3 things that you see that we share? And then in phase 3, it's questions of kind of like goals and dreams for the future, kind of more, but it's like, it's deeper, it's more impactful, and I can't remember off the top of my head what they are, and I didn't pull it up because I just thought of this right now. But that could be really helpful also, just kind of having time, setting aside time to like have that conversation to go to that deeper place. But again, before you can do that, he has to understand what you mean when you say that you don't feel seen. And I am kind of going back to like the order of events for defining that versus reading the book first. Well, I'll put it to my parents. What would you say of like, if he's not getting it where she's coming from, how do you even get him on board to read the book?
Because
how did you come to read the book?
You told me to read the book, that it would make a difference. That's all.
Yeah, but he doesn't feel like
Doesn't make a difference. I didn't feel it either, but it just, read the book.
No, but he feels there's nothing that needs fixing.
Right.
Well, it doesn't make any difference. If you're involved in this relationship,
you'll do the thing that's important to your
well,
partner.
just read the book. It'll take you a couple of hours. Read the book. Get a sense of what is out there, and then decide whether or not you're really not.
I mean, we don't know how old Amber is, but let's say, like, this is in the first 4 years of your relationship. Would you have read the book?
I don't remember when I did read the book. I don't remember what was going on.
When you read the book?
Yeah, I don't remember in the relationship.
It was within the past
15
5 years.
No,
No, it was
in
in the last 10 years.
15
No,
years.
10 years. It was in 2014. Can I say on the
Yes.
air? It was after the affair. That was when you read the book.
I have no recollection of that. Fine, doesn't make any difference.
So, like, but
Because
it was very clear to you at the time that you read it that your marriage was in a bad spot. How do you get this person who doesn't believe that there's a problem in the relationship to read this book?
Please read the book.
Hmm?
If there's no problem in their relationship, please read the book. Oh, sure, okay.
What do you think?
The,
Hey, this is a great movie. Go out and see the movie. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll enjoy it. Maybe I'll get something out of it. I mean, I don't know that there's anything, that there should be anything in saying, no, I don't need it. I don't know.
I think that the way Amber would have to approach her partner has to be very thought out in what she's asking of him, in order to, she knows him to a certain extent. He's not sharing a lot of himself, obviously, with her, because she feels she wants more from him. She would have to really stage a request. So that would make it hard for him to say no. It's already, in the relationship, she has to figure out, how does she get what she wants from him, because she's not getting it. So to get him to read the book is going to require effort.
How about just from what's going on in our relationship right now, this Amber, from what's going on in our relationship right now, you don't seem to understand what I'm asking for, and I don't seem to understand what you're asking for. I was just told about this book. How about if we both read it together? Get 2 copies, I'll read it, you read it, and let's talk about it after that.
Might work.
I know. It's interesting because I'm thinking about, like, well, what would I do with clients? But I only work with couples, so they've already come to couples therapy, so they're in it. Even the people who are resistant, I can kind of frame it as, like, well, you're here for a reason, and the reason is for me to impart my wisdom, so I want you to know about this tool. In this situation, he is not acknowledging, according to what she wrote, that there is
a problem
to address.
He just gets annoyed when she pushes him. So he may just get annoyed if she requests it. So that's what I'm saying. She has to really think how she's going to.
And that's why I'm thinking that it might be more important to define seen and heard first, of just kind of like, okay, see, we are so on different pages here. What you are describing as seen, maybe they are defining it the same, and she's like, okay, what you see, I don't feel that, and this is how this is the first step I want to take to figure out how to feel that. And it could be starting with just doing the 36 questions for connection, because the title itself sounds like a smaller ask than reading a whole book, so that might be a good place to start.
Well, the first thing I would want to happen in this situation is, what you're saying, do these online questions. But Amber, read the book. Mm-hmm. Just read it yourself.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Then you'll have an idea
of what you're asking.
Of how to ask him.
You read the book first, didn't you?
I read it first,
yes.
yeah. How to ask him to please read it. This is important to me. This made a difference in how I see our relationship, how I see you. I would like you, and this is important for us. The whole thing. We have a 4-year commitment here, and I'm feeling the ground under me is shaky. I need your help. All I'm asking is that you read this book, and then we talk about it. So I think she has to do the work first, because she's the one asking for
a change.
And would give her a much better understanding of what the
she's
situation
asking.
is. Right.
Yeah. Okay. The other point that I wanted to address is, see, that was a good words of affirmation.
I'm sorry?
It was good words of affirmation you just did there.
There you go.
So the other thing that I want to address before we wrap up is the part where Amber was talking about feeling like she might be too demanding or asking for too much. And I just want to address that you definitely are not. In fact, like it takes so much bravery to be able to say in your relationship, this is not feeling fulfilling for me. I need to ask for more. And also significant self-awareness to even recognize that you are not feeling fulfilled in what you need from this relationship, because a lot of people just dig their head in the sand and be like, why rock the boat? We're doing fine.
And the sex is good.
Great. She said that, right? The sex is fine. And that's good. And like that they're to not shake, like we're floating along fine. Why rock the boat and make it like I can stick my head in the sand and just deal with what I'm not getting? A lot of people do that. A lot of people would do that. So I think it's incredibly brave to be able to have the self-awareness to recognize this is not working for me, and to be able to bring that to his attention, and it sounds like several times, even though you're getting this negative response every time, that no, you're not being too demanding, you're not asking too much, you are stating your needs, and that's really important to be able to do. I also just had the thought too of like, you know, like my dad was saying, is like, or my mom, someone said, read the book yourself first. Do the work yourself first. Mom said that. Dad's now pointing, giving her the credit. Excellent. That the more that you are asking him and he's not getting it, the more annoyed he's going to get every time. And that's going to create a much bigger problem than this problem. So figuring out exactly what you are asking for, because right now it sounds like what you're asking for is pretty vague, of just kind of like, I need to feel seen. What does that mean? That means nothing to him. So reading the book, doing the work, figuring out for yourself, what does seen mean to you? What action items can he do for you? So that you are feeling that from him, so that you have a very specific and direct ask for him. Because if you keep asking this vague thing and he keeps getting annoyed, that's going to become your entire pattern. So arming yourself, preparing yourself, knowing exactly what specific things you are asking for before you bring it to him again.
I agree. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything else to say?
I have to make dinner.
Okay, let's wrap up. This was great. Thanks, everyone.
It is a pleasure working with you, my love.
You too.
It's a pleasure watching you, my love.
Thanks. All right.
And we will...
Next time.
We'll hear you. You'll hear us next time.
Next time. And we'll finally get back to the Kanye thing next time. Maybe.
Okay.
Well, actually, next time Mara will
be here.
So she can weigh in, because it started with her child.
Yes, it did.
All right.
Okay. Bye.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Shain.
And this has been Listen to My Mother.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a positive review and subscribing to us on your favorite platform.
And if you'd like the chance to listen to my mother, head to the link in our show notes, which is currently bit.ly/listen to my submission. That's bit.ly/listen to my submission, and submit your question.
No question is off limits.
And don't forget to follow our journey on Instagram at Listen to My Mother or at whatsthepoint.therapy.
Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.
Bye, Mama.
Bye, baby.